Hello and welcome to the 37th webinar in 12D's Industry Solutions webinar series. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at 12D Solutions. Our Industry Solutions webinars are designed to provide insights into overcoming challenges in an evolving industry in more effective and efficient ways. We'll keep running these webinars regularly and recording them for posting on our YouTube channel with links through our website. Our first 36 webinars from this Industry Solutions series, as well as the 41 webinars from our training series, are available online if you missed those. During this live presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way. We'll put some instructions on the screen. We'll answer as many as possible of those throughout the webinar. And at the end, I'll read out some of your questions to the presenter if there's time. Today's webinar, Worksharing Among Multiple Offices, will be presented by Lincoln Smith, who has been working in sales and marketing with technology solutions for the architecture, engineering and construction industry for over 17 years. Lincoln is focused on the introduction of software and hardware solutions into AEC businesses to increase efficiency and reduce risk. He's also involved with the Brisbane startup community, helping entrepreneurs develop sales and marketing strategies to bring their ideas to market. To meet the market pressures within the AEC industry, many organizations have adopted a distributed work-sharing environment. The problem with this is that the data sets we use in the industry continue to grow. Some clients report waiting upward of an hour for data to transfer between offices. In today's webinar, we address that data transfer strain. We show you how to reduce and manage the traffic between offices within your organization, significantly improving data transfer and network performance, saving you time and money. Over to you, Lincoln.
Thanks, Lisa. Just wanted to let everyone know, let me jump ahead here. Well, as Lisa was saying, I'm going to be having a bit of a conversation about work sharing among multiple offices. But what I'll do now is I'll kick off and we can start. So multi-office consultancies can often experience the light and shade of different performing markets. As one office may be facing an infrastructure boom, another may be operating as a business as usual or even a quiet scenario. There's no doubt we're working in a two-speed economy with states like Victoria and New South Wales that have work coming out of their ears, and places like Queensland where I live, or Western Australia, for example, certainly going okay, but wouldn't mind some busy times as well. So I guess the point of all this, though, is resources in one office get stretched to capacity with workload, and we look to other offices for those resources to get the job done. We refer to this as work sharing, and unfortunately, work sharing in such a data-driven environment, it's not easy to do, and mostly it's a very inefficient process. Businesses have adopted high-risk workarounds to solve some of these problems, but they lead to problems themselves with poor network performance, data corruption, data loss, poor QA processes, or even just down to issuing the wrong file for construction. In today's webinar, we're going to look at why work sharing in the AEC industry has been inefficient, and just talk about some of the areas in where businesses like yours could improve. So again, why is it inefficient? How a centralized work sharing solution and collaboration solution can help, and how organizations in the industry might have addressed these. And I'll talk a bit about some of those as well. So how do we share our data with other offices at the moment? So I've reached out to a few of our customers and talked about this, and these were probably the top 5 or 6 that they said is access files via a wide area network, copy the design data to another office, copy files to a third-party online sharing site like Dropbox or Box or OneDrive or Google Drive or something like that. I might VPN into another server and use the information that way, or I might schedule some kind of automatic copying process to copy the data across the network on some kind of schedule. So there are certainly ways to do it, but these methods can cause problems, and those those problems cause problems inside your business. So from a user perspective, what I probably hear from a lot of our customers is time wasted waiting for files to open or copy down. Large data sets, it's even longer. It's not just go and get a coffee and come back. It's just go and do something else. You don't really know who's working on what data set at what office. It can be a bit unclear about who's working on what and which piece of data is the latest version. You end up with multiple copies of the data across the network, and those engineering users seem to get the blame when the bandwidth gets a bit tight, and people get blamed for hogging the bandwidth, which is obviously never fun. And from an IT perspective, the other I guess side of the coin is sometimes sharing things in an online service doesn't necessarily speed anything up because the data is not being stored in Brisbane or Sydney. It's being stored in San Francisco or LA or some other part of the world. You need to just have a think about the data sovereignty in putting it in places like that anyway. Is that in line to what you've committed to? Now that you've got all these copies of the data everywhere, your IT department has to go and back all of those things up to make sure that they're doing their job. But in a lot of cases, what the IT team then realizes, you've got the original 300 meg 12D model project that might be copied to 2 other offices. So there's 3 copies of that. And then there might be 7 milestone backups of those copies. So a 300 meg 12D model project might really take 6.3 gigabyte in space, and then the IT team have to go and back that up that 6.3 gig. So another problem as well. And the other thing is, if you did end up some kind of automated data copying, normally that's done on a 24-hour basis. So you have to wait at least 24 hours to get access to some of that data. Some of our customers have even said that they've rang up the Melbourne office and get some data copied up to Brisbane so they can start working on it. And it's just an unknown thing that'll finish at some point in the future. They don't really know whether it's actually finished copying or not. So it can be quite difficult working in a bit of an unmanaged way, I guess. And look, it's just going to get worse because as our technology continues to develop and we capture more information and all this design data gets bigger and bigger, it's just going to be harder to manage. These are the typical data sets we'd expect to see in a business like yours, DWGs, 12D model projects, LiDAR, aerial photos, mobile laser scanning. People are continuously using this kind of data, working from the network, saving it, and just creating a whole bunch of traffic inside the network. And look, if you're maybe a environmental engineer or a town planner, you probably wonder what's going on, why are things slowing down so much. And again, it's the 80-20 rule, so it's probably 20% of the staff own 80% of the data in the organization, and you're probably getting blamed for being the bandwidth hog at the same time as well. But it's inherited in part, or it's part of the job that we do, is dealing with these large data sets. So why do we need to fix this? Well, I guess ineffective work sharing, it's costing you money, it's taking up time, and it's putting risk into your business. It's also making people have to probably work longer. Some people might even just say, I'm going to come into the office early and copy these files down instead of annoying everyone, which is great, but you're again coming into work early. Again, it's got a whole bunch of issues on how certainly could be done better. And if you can address these issues, you can save on employees' time and frustration, you can attract top talent, you can improve retention, you can make your teams more efficient, and you can streamline the collaboration process. We've got a few customers that have people working on projects from Europe or the US, heaps from New Zealand, South Africa, Thailand, Manila. There's people out there with a skill set that you can involve on your projects. It's just, do we have the facility to engage them in that project properly? So how do we fix this? Well, what I'd really say is you want all of your data in one location, and that location really you want a controlled, backed up, managed environment. If you're going to have that people spread, you need a way to keep a track of them, keep a track of the progress of the project, understand what's going on. Managers still need to know who's doing what and how things are progressing. You need a way to effectively transfer the data quickly. If look, it can't be slow, otherwise it just doesn't work. You need collaboration tools, things like Skype, email, forums, notes. How do I make the process of people talking to one another over a long distance easy? Those are some of the things that our customers use. And look, depending on how big your data sets are and how big a job might be, or depending on how many people in each office, or even depending on the internet connection between those two offices, you may look at a system of localized data caches to speed up access as well. So going back a bit, so currently people are copying files, file sharing, and using VPNs. I guess with using something like 12D Synergy, you'd use to share. You want to give people access to all the data that they need, make it quick, and keep it centralized in one location. And what I'll do now is talk about specifically some of the features that Synergy used to do this. So the way we address this is with 12D Synergy's intelligent data transfer. So essentially, you connect your 12D Synergy server, which could be based in your office or in the cloud, and 12D Synergy is a check-in, check-out system. So you will request the files which you want to work on, and they will save to your local workspace. So they go from the Synergy server to your hard disk, and then they will get copied. Sorry, you'll work on them, and it'll be quite quick because obviously you're working from your hard disk. And then when you've finished, you'll check those files back in. But I guess the great thing about 12D Synergy is 12D Synergy is going to have a look at those files and see what of those files has changed, and only transfer the files back that have changed. And it's the same when you copy those files down. It's only going to copy down the files that have changed. So Synergy will have a look on your hard disk, have a look what's at the server, and say, look, what's the difference between the two. And what we've found, I mean, we've got some of our customers have been using Synergy for 5 and 6 years, and we've been having a look at some of their raw data on how much they're actually transferring as opposed to how big the actual 12D model project is. And it reduces your data transfer by up to 91%. So again, we've got surveyors who use 12D Synergy to check in and check out 12D model projects, and they can be out west in Dolby or Dubbo, somewhere like that, on 3G connections, checking in and out 12D model projects, because it really is just sending up and down the pipe the information that's changed, not all of the information. So again, a really, really great feature and very popular with our customers. Another great example is purely on time saving. So one of our customers ran a business case on a 12-week car parking project. They had 6 12D model users collaborating and work sharing on the job. They found that on their standard systems, which I'm pretty sure was just File Explorer, the initial access to the data took them on average about 13 minutes, but any kind of subsequent access, again, after that would still obviously be 13 minutes. With 12D Synergy, they found the initial access to grab their project data was around 5 minutes, and then subsequent accesses from then on, because they already had it copied down to their workspace or their hard disk, subsequent accesses from then on was less than a minute. So they evaluated how many times a day they did this and how many times a week they did this, and really started looking at how many hours they were saving per week, and they determined they saved 4 hours per week. And we also cut down on a bit of that project travel, where they weren't traveling back to their regional head office either for project meetings, because they were able to collaborate a lot more efficiently than they had in the past, and they just didn't need to. So, it was 4 hours a week, certain number of users, certain weeks, and they calculated it ended up being $43,200 at the end of the project. So again, it's a great saving for something that we're probably used to seeing, probably used to waiting and sitting around, and sometimes I think we find it a bit surprising in how much time we actually chew up just waiting for things to open. So it's another great example. So again, we talked a little bit about how Synergy works out of the box. So you can Workshare with 12D Synergy. The remote access function and the intelligent data transfer that we've already talked about. This all helps people share and access data and log in from pretty much anywhere they have access to the internet, which is great. But what if there's a heap of busy exchanges between the different sites, or you may have multiple colleagues in an office, or an office remote to your own who are collaborating in the same data sets, or simply experiencing less than ideal network connections. I mean, I've been to some places in just the Sunshine Coast here in Queensland, and I couldn't believe what some of these business owners were telling me about their access to the internet and how they could do absolutely nothing about it. It's a real shame, but hopefully it gets better soon. If you did get stuck in a scenario like that, the next step you'd probably take from here would be a file replication server. And really, I guess what a file replication server is about reducing the traffic between the offices or sites by synchronizing and caching files in the background. There's a couple of ways it does that. So one, it reduces the data transfer between the Brisbane FRS node and the central server by only transferring deltas, which is basically saying the differences between each individual file. The other way it speeds things up is by locally caching information at the Brisbane office. So for example, if everyone's doing a project in the Brisbane office, a lot of those project files are going to be commonly used in Brisbane and stored in Brisbane and accessed in Brisbane, just to speed those things up. Now, all of that data, of course, it has to come back, and you can configure the way the data is transferred back. You can say instantly transfer it back, or transfer it when it's requested, or maybe transfer it at midnight or 2 in the morning, or something like that. Look, here's a bit of an example. It's probably a larger scale example than probably what we normally see. But so if I was in Brisbane and I request a file, and that, our primary Synergy server is in Sydney, I'm on a file replication server in Brisbane. So I'm going to go and request a file from Sydney. It'll come down to my laptop. It'll be stored on my hard disk. I'll be working on it. And if anyone else in Brisbane goes and requests that file, they don't need to look back to Sydney because that file already exists in Brisbane. So it's really saving on those data transfer times. The other thing I haven't really mentioned is metadata, or the glue between the files, or the information that links some of them together. That information is transferred instantly back to the primary 12D Synergy server. So that's not delayed or scheduled. It really just helps people understand where files are and what's going on. So if you ask me, do I need the FRS? Probably what I'd say is depends, because there's very many reasons why you would or wouldn't get it. Some people, a lot of our customers, they're happy with Synergy out of the box. It works fine for them. There's no need for an FRS. Others started with an FRS. So sites with popular data sets being used by multiple users in different offices, it's probably a bit of a dead giveaway there. Heavy data environments, more than one site, yep. So maybe if I had a large project, 20 people in one office working on the same data and 20 people in another office, I'd probably start saying maybe an FRS is needed. Depends on your internet connection, obviously. And bandwidth is probably the key. I think a lot of customers who come to us are coming to us because they've got bandwidth problems from the start. So again, they're probably the different areas that might have you thinking why you may or may not need one. Has anyone got any questions on this just while I've got to this point? Lisa, can you check the list for me, please?
Sure. I've just got one question sitting here at the moment. Jake in Melbourne has asked, is the central point of truth talking about a cloud solution?
Look, you can certainly host your central server in the cloud if you wanted to. It can be in your office or in the cloud. It's really up to you. So you could say, I'm going to have a file replication server node in Brisbane and Melbourne and Perth and Newcastle and Bundaberg, but my primary cloud server, that's actually going to sit, I don't know, with Amazon or Azure or some cloud hosting service, and everyone will just connect through the internet back to that server. We've got some customers that have done that as well.
Okay, great.
Great. Okay. Well, look, I didn't have a lot more to go through from here. But again, if 12D Synergy does a really good job of providing that collaboration environment, helping you transfer data around, and it's very popular with civil designers who want to work on a diverse range of projects. If you're interested to hear more about this, or maybe some of you came along expecting to see a bit of how Synergy works, just let me know. I can pop out and see you, or give you a web presentation, or give you some information. So just reach out and I can get in touch with you. Right, thanks, Lisa. Over to you.
Wonderful, thanks, Lincoln. So our other piece of exciting news, we keep hammering home the point, but we do have our 12D Technical Forum on in Brisbane this July with the associated Innovation Awards. The closing date for those is actually the end of this month, so now's the time to enter for a shot at an amazing prize. Our next two Industry Solutions webinars will be What's Coming in 12D Synergy 4 on the 2nd of May, and What's Coming in 12D Model 14 on the 10th of May. So register for those now if you haven't already, and keep an eye on our emails and social media channels for more great upcoming topics in this and our training series. If you need to contact us in the meantime, just pop on our websites, 12d.com or 12dsynergy.com. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at future webinars.